Let me just give it to you straight. Make in India failed. And if that bothers you, good, because someone needs to say it without sugarcoating. We were told back in 2014 that India was about to become the next China, that factories would be everywhere, exports would explode, and India would finally stop being the world's back office and become the world's workshop. 10 years later, we're still importing parts from China just to screw them together and slap a Made in India label on top. The jobs never came, the factories never scaled, and the same ministers who promised transformation are now celebrating assembly lines like there's some kind of industrial revolution. A nation of 1.4 billion reduced to congratulating itself for assembling smartphones with Chinese parts? That's not progress, that's pure delusion. Here's the thing, I'm not here to repeat headlines. I'm here to walk you through exactly how the biggest economic promise of the Modi era fell apart, and why India is still light years behind China in the one area it bragged about the most. If you think Make in India was a bold vision, wait till you see how badly it flopped. Please take a moment to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's start with the facts, the ones the government would rather bury under a pile of hashtags. In 2014, the Modi administration announced that it would raise manufacturing's share of GDP from around 16% to 25% by 2022. That goal never even came close. In 2024, it's stuck at around 15%. That's not just failure, that's regression. A whole decade of ribbon cuttings, flashy summits, digital India hashtags, and make-believe optimism, and the number didn't even budge. In the time India spent making speeches, China built mega factories and exported trillions in goods. Let's talk exports. China exported $3.6 trillion worth of goods in 2023. India, barely $450 billion. That's not a gap. That's an economic black hole. China builds high-speed trains, EVs, telecom equipment, satellites. India exports bananas, generic pharma, and IT services. China manufactures the machines, India begs for the manual. And then there's the FDI myth. The government loves to boast about foreign direct investment flowing into India, but if you actually look closely, most of that money doesn't touch manufacturing. It goes into e-commerce, finance, or software. The real industrial capital, the kind that builds supply chains, trains workers, and transforms infrastructure, never came. Even the companies that did invest, like Apple or Foxconn, are using India as a glorified screwdriver line. Assembly only, no deep supply chain, no ecosystem, no technology transfer, just labor, lights, and logistics. You want proof? Look at the iPhone. Even the ones made in India are filled with components flown in from China, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. Over 70% of the value is still foreign, mostly Chinese. That's not make in India, that's unbox and assemble in India. Meanwhile, China controls the actual production, the screens, the chips, the lithium batteries. It controls the upstream. India just plays courier, and yet, despite this, Indian politicians keep hosting flashy summits, printing colorful reports, and patting themselves on the back every time someone cuts a ribbon on a new assembly line. They show off factories like they're launching rockets, when most of them aren't even vertically integrated. It's like showing off your kitchen because you bought a microwave. There's no pride in pretending. Let's now get to the part nobody wants to talk about. India's infrastructure, or lack thereof. The difference between China and India isn't just an output, it's an execution. China has built more than 40,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, connected inland industrial zones to deepwater ports with pinpoint precision, and built highways that actually function like arteries of a modern economy. India? It still struggles to finish a single bullet train route between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, announced in 2015, still incomplete in 2025. In that same time frame, China built an entire high-speed rail network from scratch in Laos. Think about that. They built infrastructure in another country faster than India can build its own in Gujarat. India's logistics cost is roughly 14% of GDP, China's is 8%. That alone makes Indian manufacturing less competitive before a single product even leaves the factory floor. The power cuts, the trucking delays, the broken roads, it all adds up. Goods get stuck, costs go up, investors back out. Meanwhile, China ships goods from factory to port in less time than it takes an Indian container truck to clear a highway toll booth. And if that's not bad enough, let's talk labor. India has a population advantage, right? The so-called demographic dividend. Well, that dividend is overdrawn. Because having a billion people doesn't mean much if they're not trained to do anything. According to official data, only 4.7% of India's workforce has received any formal technical training. In China, it's over 26%, with the majority trained in industrial skills. China didn't just have people, it made them useful. India has people, period. The truth is, India never developed a manufacturing culture. In China, vocational training is respected. Industrial work is professional. In India, kids are told to become software engineers or prepare for civil service exams. Nobody wants to work in a factory because the factory doesn't offer opportunity. It offers broken toilets, inconsistent power, and a manager who's still using a clipboard from 1997. You think companies want to scale in that environment? They don't. That's why they go to Vietnam. That's why they go to Mexico. That's why, ironically, many of them just stay in China, because despite the politics, China actually delivers. And we haven't even touched on the real killer. India never built industrial ecosystems. China didn't just build factories, it built cities designed to manufacture. In Shenzhen, every component you need is within a 1-hour radius. Designers, engineers, logistics providers, toolmakers, suppliers, they're all there. That's how you get speed, that's how you scale, that's how you innovate. India has none of that. It has scattered industrial parks built on borrowed farmland, far from ports, with bad roads and no connectivity. It's not an ecosystem, it's a spreadsheet fantasy. Even now, government officials act like building an industrial park is the same as building a manufacturing ecosystem. It's not. You can't bulldoze a village, throw up a few warehouses, and expect an iPhone to roll off the belt. That's not how this works. And yet, in the face of all this, Modi's government continues to parade around the slogan Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant India. You know what's really self-reliant? A country that doesn't run a $113 billion trade deficit with China, like India did in 2023. You can't call yourself self-reliant when you import electronics, solar panels, chemicals, and even the APIs for your pharmaceutical industry. India is dependent on China for the very tools it needs to be independent. That's not irony, that's incompetence. India is not competing with China. It's not even in the same tournament. India is clapping for its own PR, while China is quietly writing the global supply chain playbook. And that's the tragedy. Make in India had potential. There was genuine excitement in 2014. People believed, investors were curious, the world was watching. But the Modi government didn't follow through with serious reforms. It didn't attack the bureaucracy, it didn't build ecosystems, it didn't train the workforce, it didn't fix logistics, it didn't restructure labor laws, it marketed, it branded, it smiled for the cameras, and now 10 years later we're stuck in the same place. Worse actually, because now we've wasted time. Other countries have stepped in, supply chains have shifted, the window is closing if it's not already shut. So here's the hard truth. Make in India didn't fail because India lacked potential. It failed because India lacked seriousness. The leadership sold a fantasy and hoped the market would build it for them. But you can't slogan your way into an industrial revolution. You have to actually build something. China understood that. India didn't. And now China owns the factory. India is still printing flyers. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more content.